before me and you have our usual discussion, let me try to put this in perspective. Now, Murphy's Law clearly states if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. Now that just sounds like a very negative person. But when it comes to our fun-loving Krakoan X-Men, it is the gospel. The X-Men have been beaten from pillar to post. This great thing that they created has come crashing down with quickness. And the person who should be most upset about it, maybe not most, but definitely up there, is Forge, because he helped build a lot of it. Do you see the other dread in this man's face? Do you see the fear in his eyes? Orchis didn't put that there. They might have helped, but they didn't put it there. When he realized that Krakoa has been shut down, the first thing that came to his mind was, oh shit, the vault. And it's open and the children are out. I mean, what do you do when you have humans that have been evolved to the point that they are more powerful than your strongest Omega level mutants, and all they want to do is kill you? Well, if you're Deniz Camp, you write a great 4-part miniseries. Hope I'm not putting too much pressure on you, but I'm excited about this. My name is Dorian, this is SCM Comics, and we are continuing our coverage of Fall of X with Children of the Vault, number 1. So our story starts off in Ecuador. That's where the vault's located at. Now, just like in the Titanic, when it hit the iceberg, it didn't sink right away. It took time. Well, the vault's the same way. Fall of X happened, it didn't shut off right away. It took time to power off, almost about a day. But once that day passed by, just like the Titanic was a disaster, once the vault's walls melted, it is a disaster. So Seraphine 187, that's a fitting name because she's probably gonna kill some people. She's like Professor Xavier. She's a Silver Surfer looking one. She can pretty much read machines all over the world like Professor Xavier can read minds. And she gets caught up real quick on what's been going on with the mutants. And she just kept saying, how dare they? How dare they? So Martello, that's the dude with the big ass hammer, he's pretty much like, it wasn't real. Everything that we accomplished, it was all a dream. And Seraphine's like, nah, it was a prison. So then Cadena, or Cadena, however you want to pronounce it, you know, tomato, he's the Mr. Freeze looking dude. He goes, mutants, their dream was our prison. So Perro, that's a crazy blue looking dude with the visor, he pretty much goes, I'll crush them beneath the weight of 1,000 worlds. I'll make diamonds of them. You know this dude is probably super strong and he has a bunch of screws loose. So Miss 187 herself pretty much goes, no, the world has changed, mutants are gone. The dream is over, we're free at last. Now we need to return to the vault. We must go to the city and reform it. So now we cut to northern Chile and we have this boy, his name is Rodrigo, he's 13. He's standing in a lithium mine. Now this is not something that the book made up. This is how actual lithium is mined, and most of it is mined in Chile. So however you're watching this, whether it be your smart TV, your laptop, your tablet, your cell phone, it contains lithium to make it work. So in saying that, you know this stuff is extremely valuable, and the companies that mine and produce this, you know they're giving the local people their raw deal. I mean, you know they have to be, because why would this 13-year-old boy be sitting in one of these mines and he takes some and he drinks it, which is pretty much going to kill him, and he takes a picture of it trying to, I guess, put it on social media, and then all of a sudden you see the children of the vault and their big huge city come flying by. So now it cuts to Nathaniel Christopher Charles Summers, or everybody else knows him as Cable. He's pretty much sitting in a Orchis facilities where they're trying to probe into his mind, and he keeps telling himself what is. Now this can mean a lot of things, but to him it pretty much means accept what you can't change and change what you can't accept. We should all learn that lesson. So I love it what the narration says after that. It goes, they called him sleeping, not literally, because Cable stopped sleeping years ago. I'm thinking to myself, how the hell is that even possible? And then I said to myself, comic books. And then it goes, they surprise him on his own ship. And then he's like, which is probably sitting somewhere dismantled on the floor of a Orchis hangar somewhere, along with his arm. And he goes to himself, I really like that arm. So this has been going on for a month. Psychic probes, weaponized talk therapy for a whole month. Why? Because Orchis wants to know his secrets. They want to know what he knows about the past, the present, but especially the future. So as they've been studying him, he's been studying them, and he has devised a plan to pretty much make his escape within 3 days. But he might be from the future, but he can't always predict the future. And 3 days comes in about 3 seconds. There's this big, huge explosion. He falls on the ground. They're about to shoot him because they're saying he's escaping. And all of a sudden, there's like this huge blast that comes out of nowhere. And Cable turns around to see the last person he thought would be saving him. It is Bishop, and these two got beef. I mean, beef. Like Tupac and Biggie beef. Like Will Smith and Chris Rock beef. Like beef. And it all stems from a great story called Messiah Complex. So the foul-mouthed Omega level mutant everybody knows is Hope Summers. Well, she was raised by Cable. Cable was the one who found her. The reason why she was so important is because she was the first mutant born since the House of M happened. And if I gotta explain the House of M, we'll say that for another day. So Bishop comes from this dystopian future. Seems like they're all dystopian when it comes to the X-Men. And he finds out that his future is so bad because 1 million humans got killed in like 6 minutes. He finds out that Hope Summers is the one who committed this crime and led to the internment camps that he was raised in. So he's pretty much going to do whatever he can to prevent this, and he does some heinous things. And Cable ain't trying to have this happen, so I mean, they went at it hard, and they really haven't been cool ever since. Like, even with this whole Cocoa thing going on, I don't remember any stories where they actually like hash it out. So that was your very crude breakdown of Messiah Complex. Why? Because it's a great story, and I plan on covering that. So now back to this story. So Orchis guards comes and they're about to fire on Bishop and Cable. Bishop's about to hit him with another blast. Cable's like, "Oh, time out. We know these guys." Bishop's like, "What?" And Cable starts to use his mental manipulation. So now they think that they're pretty much serving under Cable and Bishop, and they're there to protect them. So now other Orchis agents come into play, and now they're all fighting on each other. And the ones that were mentally manipulated are saying, "For mutant kind, for Cocoa." It's pretty crazy. So while all that's going on, Cable and Bishop are having a conversation. And Cable's like, "You come by yourself?" And Bishop's like, "Yep, just me." So then Cable's like, "They got my favorite arm." And Bishop's like, "We ain't going back for that." And Cable's like, "I didn't say I wanted to go back for it. I just said that's my favorite arm." And all of a sudden you see this Orchis scientist and he goes, "Why is the arm?" And all of a sudden all you hear is boom. Whole place goes up. They get out of there. They're running to their bikes. Orchis agents that's protecting them are still shooting, but now they're getting shot, but they're able to make a somewhat clean getaway. So Cable doesn't know anything that happened at the Hellfire Gala. So he pretty much reads Bishop's mind and pretty much gets caught up on the current events that's going on in X-Men. So Cable's like, "All right, I'm all caught up. Now let's go to this nearby place so that we can regroup." And Bishop's like, "Yep, everybody you love is dead, and everybody who's left wants to kill you." So now we have the Children of Tomorrow. You can't really call them Children of the Vault no more because they're not in the vault. I love simplicity. I still say, to this day, one of the best rap lines ever was said by 2 Chainz. "She got a big booty, so I call her Big Booty." So hopefully that doesn't get me demonetized. But back to the Children of Tomorrow, they have been busy. Using Miss 187's power, they pretty much announced to the world how they are there to make things better, and how the things that pretty much divide and separate us, like natural resources, will be a thing in the past because they're going to take care of it. And to their credit, that is exactly what they do. They literally build homes for the homeless. There's no such thing as starvation because they unlimited amounts of food that they can produce. They also have machines that can heal wounds and extend lifespans. They go around the world and they save thousands of people from natural disasters. So Orchis is talking a good game. They're like, we really ain't got time to mess with these guys because, you know, we gotta finish what we started with the mutants, but we'll just keep an eye on them. Truth be told, they don't want nothing to do with these people, like at all. And they just rather stay out of it. Hopefully they'll just leave them alone and not come knocking on their door because they do have one common enemy, and that's the mutants. So now we cut to Hell's Kitchen, which is Daredevil stomping grounds. And you got Cable, still missing an arm, and he's pretty much butt naked besides some underwear on. And there's this kid, and he starts to say, "Hey, aren't you?" And Cable hits him with some kind of mind thing. And the kid goes, "I'm a big fan, Mr. Brolin," who is also Thanos in the MCU. How they're going to square that circle. So Bishop is filling in Cable about the Children of Tomorrow, who used to be the Children of the Vault. And they're both pretty much come to the conclusion that they're not buying what these people are selling, that they know something's up and they're probably doing something nefarious behind the scenes. So they get to a flower shop called Day Springs, which, if you're a fan, you know that's pretty on the nose. And Bishop's like, "How the hell do you afford a safe house here in this neighborhood?" And Cable's like, "I got a deal for it in the 90s. The 1890s. So while Cable gets a new arm put on and also finally gets some clothes on, Bishop is pretty much explaining how things have been going for him ever since the new mutant massacre has happened. And he pretty much explains how he just goes from Orchis facility to Orchis facility, pretty much shutting it down and killing as many Orchis agents as he can. But then he saw the children got out and he knew he couldn't deal with that problem by himself, so he needed to find some help. So Cable has been nosing something about Bishop, like there's something in his mind, but he can't narrow it down, and he had to wait until he got a new arm to do like a further analysis. And he has this like hologram pop up on his arm, and it looks like Betty Boo, but he calls it Nurse Hattie, and he has Nurse Hattie scan Bishop's mind to see exactly what the anomaly is. So then after analysis comes back, and Cable's like, "It's a virus," and Bishop's like, "I have a virus?" And Cable's like, "Yeah, most telepaths would have been able to notice that, but unfortunately most telepaths are now dead." So then Bishop's like, "So should we have on some hazmat suits?" And Cable's like, "It's not that kind of virus." So Bishop goes, "Am I infectious? Contagious." The word is contagious. So he's like, "Yeah, it does still travel person to person." And he's like, "Yeah, this is some high level engineering kind of thing." And Bishop's like, "I knew it. It was the children, wasn't it?" And Cable's like, "Yeah." And Bishop's like, "So how far do you think it spread?" And then Cable starts to look at everybody's mind and goes, "Pretty far, because everybody there has it." Oh, it's about to get crazy. So the first decade of my life was spent in the 80s. And the second decade was spent in the 90s. So it's hard to say whether I'm an 80s kid or a 90s kid. Now, I started reading comic books in the late 80s, and I read them all throughout the 90s, so I am an old school Cable guy, and we get him back in this one. Before we get started, please let me know in the comments, what 2 decades did you grow up in, and what era comics did you start off in? Again, please let me know in the comments. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dorian, this is SCM Comics, and we are continuing our coverage of Fall of X with Children of the Vault, number 2. So the story starts off in Buenos Aires, Argentina, south of the equator. And we have one of the children, Martello, -131. It's hard to call somebody a child when he has a grown-ass beard, but I digress. He's using his evolved powers to look through the wall, and he sees all the people dancing, and he wishes that he can join them. But he can't, because he can never put down his hammer. Reason being, because there's always something to hit. Case in point, we have Bishop saying, "Hey, you know what they say about guys with hammers? There, and throwing your favorite expletive." And Martello didn't even bat an eyelash. He takes a hammer and knocks the hell out of Bishop. I mean, he takes out 3 cars, so I'm thinking he is down. But then I had to remind myself about his mutant power, and he absorbs kinetic energy. So for those of you guys coming in from the MCU, he's like Black Panther's suit. Vibranium absorbs energy and then he can release it. Bishop's the same way. So Cable's busting shots at him, because Cable's always busting shots at somebody. And Martello is taking him and goes to hit Cable with his hammer, and he takes it a little bit better than Bishop did. But as we see on the next page, we all thought that Bishop was down. Everybody thought Bishop was down. Martello thought Bishop was down, but he is not. He absorbed the energy and now he's sending it back. And it surprises Martello, and that was enough for Cable to pretty much knock him out. And on the next page, we see that the children have been busy as hell. First off, it seems like they've been hooking up humanity. Everybody's going around with these like hoverboards or whatever, and they got like all these new type of vehicles that probably can fly and do all kinds of other stuff. And then we see that the Marvel zombies decided to pay a visit from Earth 2149, and it only took one of the children to stop them, Atamo-A2. And when I mean this dude can reality warp, he can reality warp. He could change stone into steam, matter into energy, fear into joy, and death into life as he sets a tree into our zombified Captain America. But that's not all, because they also push back the Shi'ar Empire, who was bent on destroying the world. Now, the Shi'ar were brainwashed by somebody, but still, it's pretty impressive because we all know how powerful the Shi'ar can be. They also push back threats from the Negative Zone, Shima-Gorath, and one of the former heralds of Galactus. Now, that can't be the real Shima-Gorath. Like, I don't think people really understand how powerful Shima-Gorath is. Like, there are elder gods and cosmic entities that don't want to mess with Shima-Gorath. So let's just say that was like a weak facsimile of him. But as they do all this, the people sit back and they cheer. But then we cut to this crazy looking place that Cable's at. But don't let the statues fool you. This place might as well be Guantanamo, because there ain't nothing but torturing going on in this place. And Cable's speaking to Martello in Spanish. And Martello's like, Spanish, English, Latin, Krakoan, all these languages are dead to us. So the Cable's like, you know, I was there the first time you guys crawled out your little hidey holes. Your clothes are different, but I don't think much has changed. You guys are still trying to conquer the world. And Martello's like, you can't really judge us by that. That was 1,000,000 years and 1,000 lifetimes ago. And Cable's like, not to us. So what I failed to realize the first time I read it, and as I did the rereading, I kind of see now, is while they're talking, the crazy place with the statues is actually Martello's mind, and Cable is inside of it trying to take down his defenses and get to wherever he needs to get to. So then Cable's just started to get to it, and he's like, tell me about the message. I know it's some kind of symbiotic virus. And like a typical bad guy, Martello's like, it's better not to question the message, just better to accept it. So then Cable's like, I know you're trying to pacify us, but what's the end game to this? And Martello's like, lonely little mutant. So obvious. You might be their future, but to me, you're the Stone Age. I see you dicking around through my mind like a dog. So then Martello's trying to empathize with him. And he's like, look, I was actually on your side. He was never on their side. He's like, I thought you guys were actually trying to build a future for yourselves, but you must realize that the future was never yours. And one of those stone statues in Martello's mind comes alive and knocks the bejesus out of Cable. So then Martello goes, 50 of us could exterminate the human race in one day and be done with it, and many of us wanted to. But then some of us believe that we can evolve past that, and the message is a new way, a better way. But as he's saying that, the stone statue is stomping on Cable. But now it cuts to Bishop, and he is at the mansion, which is guarded by a bunch of Orchis agents. And he needs to get to the baseball field, well, underneath the baseball field, because that's where Cable has his secret stash of weapons. But to get there, he needs to get past all the guards and about a dozen different security systems, which to him, that's no problem. He uses his mutant power to pretty much absorb the energy fields. So to the systems, it's like he's not even there. And when he gets down there, for you new school fans, you see now that Cable is a card-carrying member of the NRA. And on the next page, we cut to the UN building in New York City as we see the world pretty much give official sanction to the Children of Tomorrow to keep doing what they're doing. But I mean, let's keep it real. What were they really going to do about it anyway? But then we see that things are playing out just like Martello said. You have some of the children, like Paquette, who don't want anything to do with humanity and just wants to wipe him out. But then you have Seraphine. They try to leave out the 187. I ain't forget it. Her name is Seraphine 187, who don't want to wipe out the mutants and wants to do this whole message thing, which is the virus. And as you can see, Seraphine's way won out. But then all of a sudden, the children notice that they can't find Martello, and they notice that he's being held against his will, which Capitan's like, oh, one of the superheroes think they can rise above it, because he feels like if they push back, then they can do it the way that he wants to do it and just take everybody out. So then we see now that Martello is starting to lose the mind battle as he's bleeding. There's like sores developing on his face and he's starting to foam at the mouth, but he's still talking. And he pretty much says in a nutshell that become the future is not just a saying, that those of them that accept the message or the virus will actually start to become like them, and those who don't won't. So the cable's like, so how many of them won't make it to the future? And then Martello's like, we estimate less than 1% will survive the change. And then we see Cable get as big as the statue is. And then Martello's like, mutants projected the human race to be gone in about 20 years. We think we can have that down to about 6 months. So as he's saying that, Cable's pretty much punching a hole through the statue. And Metallo's like, Martello, not Metallo. 200 years we've been sharpening our knives and raising our hammers. And as he's saying this, Cable is just destroying the statue and then like bringing down the tower, which is Metallo's mind. Martello, not Metallo. And as he does more damage in there, Metallo's face, Martello, not Metallo, has more damage on it. And then Cable's like, yeah, well, I'm from the future, buddy, and I'll never see you guys anywhere in it. So some of the other children finally get to where Martello's at, and he starts coughing. He's like, ha, they're here. They come to rescue me and finish you off. And then Cable's like, finished? Did you really think I was there in person? If I was, I could catch something. Look underneath your seat. And they come to find out it wasn't the damage that Cable was doing in Martello's mind that was damaging his body. It was the radiation from the nuclear warhead that he was sitting on. And then it goes up. And as we see a big old mushroom cloud in the background, all you hear is Cable go, I got everything that Martello knew. Access codes and layouts of the city defenses. It's not gonna be easy. And then Bishop goes, easy's overrated. Let's take a trip to the city. Now, before I end this, do you see how Cable looks? If you were reading comic books in the early 90s, X-Force, you know this Cable. This is old school Cable. It's almost like you can hear Jay-Z say, allow me to reintroduce myself. We got evolution versus the future. Probably sitting there like, isn't that the same? Not exactly. And you're about to see why. My name is Dorian. This is SCM Comics. We are continuing our coverage of Fall of X with Children of the Vault, number 3. So our story starts off with our two heroes pointing this stupidly big cannon at the children of tomorrow. And Bishop's like, you ready to go to war with tomorrow? And Cable's like, just pull the trigger, Bishop. So he does, and he's shooting micro singularities. Now, most of you guys are really smart. Me, I'm not. I'm thinking to myself, that looks like a black hole. I don't know what a micro singularity is, but it looks like a black hole. So I looked it up, and yes, a singularity is what's at the center of a black hole. They're shooting black holes at the children of tomorrow. Now, you would think this would be a problem not just for the children of tomorrow, but the whole planet, because nothing escapes the gravitational pull of a black hole. But I'm not writing a comic book. Let's just go with it. And the children barely bat an eyelash. One of them stops it right before it hits the city and puts it in a gravity bottle, whatever that is. Another lady catches 2 of them, and she uses her power to speed up time to the point to where the black holes start to evaporate. And then another one catches him in his mouth because his small intestines is a pocket universe. Don't look at me. I just report the news. And then our friend who easily dispatched the Marvel zombies in our last book does the same thing to the micro singularity cannon. So now our 2 hard traveling time jumping heroes are now in some kind of space car, and they're shot at the sky by a captain. Now I bet you're saying, why don't you call him Capitan like last time? Well, I guess I was doing the whole Joe Dirt thing.
Joe Dirte? Don't try and church it up, son. Don't you mean Joe Dirt?
Now the captain, he is happy as hell. He is talking big. He goes, ah, mutants, I can smell your diseased DNA from here, like a days old dead animal. Then he goes, it's just 2 of you. Is that all? There are 1 million of us. What is your mutant power? A suicidal streak? And then Cable doesn't even bat an eyelash. He's like, actually, my mutant power is surprise. Look behind you. And Captain was like, you think I'm so easily? And when this dude turns around, the city is basically saying, hey, we got a bigger problem because there are hundreds of Sentinels attacking the city. And then Cable's like, surprise. Now, the way Cable did this was pretty easy and pretty scary when you think about it. All Cable did was place a design paranoia in a mid-level Orchis scientist while he slept. They may be pointing out exactly where to look in the brain. Once the scientists found this out and told Orchis about it, they might tools, but they are efficient tools. Once they found out that all humanity was pretty much compromised, including them, all decision making was pulled by the leadership, so MODOK and the Simpleton no longer calling the shots. Decisions now go to this collective brain farm. They have no senses and no emotions, and it's being protected by 5 feet of shielding on all sides. It only took it 23 seconds to determine that mutants were no longer the main threat, and that the children tomorrow now are, and that all resources will be allocated to taking them out. And when I mean all resources, they got the Stark Sentinels, they got the classic Mark IV Sentinels, they got the Mother Mold as all the way up by the surface of the sun, shooting down solar hammer strikes onto the city. It is full go. And Cable did all this with a thought. So Seraphine is the one who designed the virus. She's tripping out. She's wondering what the hell is going on. Why is the message doing what it needed to do? Captain, he's happy as hell because he wanted to eradicate the mutants the old-fashioned way, and now he gets a chance. The only thing that he's pissed about is there's no superheroes around because he really wants to kill superheroes. And while all this is going on, Cable and Bishop are on the ground fighting the children of tomorrow, but also having an argument amongst themselves. I kid you not. So Cable goes, the Omega-1 pulse rifle has better range, better accuracy, more destructive force. It is the gold standard of personal weapons of war. So Bishop goes, all that tells me is you haven't held a P-832 0-point pulse cannon. Artificial star for a power source. It is made of self-repairing smart metal. They only made a few of them in the 43rd century during the Beyonder Phoenix War. Bendis Camp, let me holler at your homeboy. Because now you put in pen to paper and made this a thing, put it in the universe. Now I need to read this. Beyond the Phoenix War, unless it's already been written, which I highly doubt it has. But if it has, then disregard this message. But if it hasn't, I need you to start writing this. As Bernie Mac would say. Immediately. So then Cable's like, look, I got 3. The Omega-1 pulse rifle is the better weapon. And the Bishop's like, only for afraid of a real gun. So as they're having this argument, like I said, they are busting all kind of shots at the children of tomorrow. So then Cable goes, and that's why I prefer to work with kids, because you can teach them. So this is one children of tomorrow where he has a sword that's edge is in 2 dimensions. This dude starts bragging how he can slice atoms, cut through space-time, and separate DNA strands. And then this dude just gets blown up like somebody did a Call of Duty airstrike. And then we find out that it was Cable. And he goes, the Omega-1 pulse rifle is the better gun. And Bishop's like, look, I had a handle. You'd have to butt in. And then Cable's like, you're an awful asshole, you know that? And then Bishop's like, you're calling me an asshole? He's like, what's the name of that 26th century death code you started that thinks they have to kill me to save the world and enter eternal paradise? And Cable's like, the Order of the Fallen Bishops. I forgot all about that. Bishop's like, yeah, they had surprising staying power. There was a full 300 years where I couldn't walk down the street without looking over my shoulder. And then Cable's like, okay, I'm off soul too. Somebody needs to tell Benny from Comic Story, and this is the buddy cop comic he always wanted. So now they get to where they need to go, I guess. And then Cable's like, all right, this is where we part ways. He's like, I placed a map of the city from Metallo's mind in your head, right next to the memory of the first time you got shot. So you don't forget. And he goes, I'm counting on you, Bishop, against my better judgment. Bishop's like, you don't trust me, and I don't blame you. But after all we've been through, after all we've done to each other, when have you ever known that let anything stop me once I set my mind to something? And Cable's like, fair point. So Seraphine is still tripping on why the message didn't work. Captain, he's all the way in his element, like he's loving life, destroying all these sentinels. So even though Seraphine's pissed about the message, she ain't stupid, and she starts calling in the heavy hitters to come in. So after she does that, she decides to look deeper into the matter of why the message didn't work, and she's like Professor Xavier, except for like on the artificial intelligence side. And you know what they say, when you go looking for trouble, you're almost always going to find it. And she does. As she's doing her mind search, all of a sudden she goes, oh, she's like enormous, exterior to space, arranging events like flowers, immense intelligence, thinking vast and terrible thoughts. And she falls to the ground and she's like, oh, it's coming. It's always been Dominion. So if you like the Usos and you've been down since day one, you guys remember Hox and Pox, House of Power of X, when John the Hitman talked about the Dominion. And the Dominion is pretty much the closest that somebody can get to like God status. And there's only a few things that a Dominion fears. That is the World Eater, Galactus, and the Phoenix. So now in House and Power of X, we talked about a Dominion. In Sins of Sinister, you know we talked about the Dominion, and somebody has achieved it. One of the Sinisters have. So my question to you guys is, who do you think achieved Dominion status? Is it our lovable Sinister? Is it Orbis Solaris? Is it Mother Righteous? Or should I call her Mother Righteous like Sebastian Shaw did? Or is it the Simpleton? Fine, I'll use his real name. Is it Dr. Stasis? Who do you think achieved Dominion status? Me, I think it's Orbis Solaris because we ain't see him in forever. Let me know in the comments. So on the next few pages, it pretty much shows how the message has divided family, friends, co-workers, all kinds of stuff. Like they even show how Orchis made a cartoon for kids, pretty much telling them that, hey, you know, stay on the side of humans and the children tomorrow are bad, with, of all people, Nimrod as their mascot. It's the wrong mascot to have. So then on the next page, we see Bishop kind of going down the hallway, and there's all these dead bodies, and he turns around, and one of those heavy hitters that Seraphine called in is just waiting for him. So we see he's about to go at it with whoever that is. But then we have Seraphine. She finally comes to, and she is freaking out. Like her one friend's trying to help her up, and she's like, what happened? What did you see? And Seraphine's like, city. The humans are not what they seem. I must warn the city. Our strategies are compromised, our information incomplete. She's like, city, do you hear me? The humans are not alone. They're not even in control. It wears them like a glove. A mind way beyond comprehension, forcing their every move. And all she hears in the background is, I'm flattered, but you're giving me too much credit. Forcing their every move. And then we see his Cable, and he says nobody is holding a gun to their head as he's holding this big rifle to the city's head. Let's keep it 100. As he holds the Omega 1 pulse rifle, to him, the best gun that was ever made. And if you're not excited to see how this ends, you might not have a pulse. Now, I normally don't ask you guys to stay to the end with my videos. That's not my style. You can check my track record. I'll never do that. Maybe once, but not often. But I got a question for you guys at the end, but it has to wait until the end. But it's a very important question, and I really want your guys' opinion. My name is Dorian. This is SEM Comics. We are continuing our coverage of Fall of X, and we are concluding our coverage of Children of the Vault with number 4. So the story starts off with the last one left off in the city, where Cable is holding a huge gun to the city's head. He's pretty much saying, one more step and you'll be scraping the upper left side off the walls. And then we cut to a Sentinel staring at Rodrigo Muniz. And remember back from issue 1, he was a young man from South America. He's from a very impoverished area in South America, and his life was pretty crappy until the Children of the Vault came. Or should I say Children of Tomorrow? You know what I'm saying. And it's through him we're seeing how the message works. Now, a Sentinel is telling him to remain calm, that they are there for his protection. And he has no reaction. He's just staring at it with his cold, dead eyes. He's not scared because he stopped feeling fear like 2 weeks ago. And then he also noticed that he didn't feel joy, anger, or anything else. And then all of a sudden he starts coughing, and he doubles over, and then he starts throwing up something blue. And then he's just sitting there saying, become. And then we cut to the Reforge. For those of you who don't know what that is the mother mold that creates all these Sentinels, and it is creating 1,000 Sentinels an hour. And if you notice, it's right at the surface of the sun. That's going to be important here in a minute. Now, as impressive as mother mold making 1,000 Sentinels an hour, what's also impressive is that an Orchis scientist says that the children are destroying more Sentinels than they can create. And that same scientist, in the same breath, says that they need to increase their productivity. He doesn't care if they have to blow up the sun, they just want to get it done. I'll say this once and you'll never hear me say this again. This is when we need the Simpleton to just show up out of nowhere and shoot that dude in the head. But the children have that covered, because all of a sudden there's a soldier and he goes, hey, stop there. How did you get up here? Where are your parents? And he goes, I don't have parents. I can go wherever I want, because it's probably thousands of years old. And that soldier goes, what's your name, kid? And he goes, it's a secret. They say it's bad. That should be a shame, but I can't help it. And then the soldier goes, hey, you're not. And then he finally realizes and he goes, oh. And then the kid goes, I didn't pick my name. They picked it for me. And then the soldier goes, stay back. What are you doing? What's in your hands? And the kid goes, the future. You want to see? And the soldier's like, stop. And the kid goes, Morte. My name is Morte. And then the mother mode just balloons up. So now we go back to the city. And we got Cable and Seraphine still having their little conversation. And Seraphine's like, put the gun down, Cable. Can't we just be civilized about this? And Cable's like, civilized? Last time we met, you threw a battleship at me. And you seriously fucked up the head of a really good man. He's talking about Sam. Cannonball. And then she goes, that was a different person. I evolved. How was Sam anyway? And Cable goes, dead. And before that, happily married. But you already knew that, didn't you? Now, if you're wondering how long ago that was, it was a very long time ago. Like 1991, long time ago. I was 11. Let me know in the comments how old you were, or if you were even around back then. So then Kay was like, look, the superhero look doesn't look good on you, Seraphine. I like the old Seraphine. And she's like, I could say the same thing about you. You're a mutant freedom fighter, and yet and still now you're working with the sapien supremacists. And then Cable's like, one thing you should know about me, to get the job done, I'll work with the devil himself. And she's like, but why? They murdered your entire race. And he's like, and that's why I want to introduce you guys, because you have so much in common. So then Captain comes out of nowhere and goes, stop humoring him, Seraphine. Knocks Cable's gun out of his hand and then starts taking it to Cable. And Seraphine's like, I had the situation covered. Another 10 seconds I had to take control of his firearm. And then Captain's like, you're too subtle, Seraphine. These animals only understand direct. So Seraphine's yelling at him, and he's like, enough. I'm tired of this. The only question we should have is what to do with the bodies after the fact. And the captain's like, this world is ours. It was promised to us. And Cable spit right in his eye and was like, crying over broken promises. You really are children. And then Captain, with spit in his eye, goes, it's over. Orchis is finished, and the message has reached its final stage ahead of time. And everybody, whether you was with the children or against the children, everybody is starting to change. So now Orchis just didn't send sentinels. They also sent some soldiers down there too. Now maybe they was in space and they didn't get the message, but it doesn't matter because the children are handling them too. So then we cut back to Cable, Captain, and Seraphine. And Seraphine's like, all you did was make it harder on them. You made it painful. The message was our way for them to evolve. A gift of peace. And all of a sudden, all you hear in the background is keep your peace. And it's Bishop hitting them with a big ass energy blast. So the Bishop goes, all you talk about is your new ideas and your evolution, and all I've seen you do is hand out smallpox blankets, put your hand around our necks. Oldest trick in the book. And if you don't know what he's talking about how the old America did the Native Americans dirty. Because there's no way the new America would do that. It wouldn't look good on social media. So now I'm done with my rant. Back to the story. So then Cable's like, the devil himself. About damn time. So then Bishop goes, I didn't think you need saving so soon. Are you embarrassed? Because I'd be embarrassed. Have you seen Bishop's face? Yeah, he should be embarrassed because that heavy hitter from the last issue hits pretty heavy. So the Seraphine's like, Bishop, Cable, what do you hope to accomplish? The human race has ours and the mutant race has already been wiped out. And then Captain's like, why is it so hard for you guys to realize we're the future? You can't fight the future. And then Bishop's like, actually, we're known for it. They're like, you're only delaying the future. And then Cable's like, more like stalling, because Nurse Hattie says we are ahead of schedule. Now, Nurse Hattie is the AI that's on this techno-organic virus arm, which is about to be very important here. Not his arm, but a techno-organic virus. Because she finishes her countdown, 3, 2, 1, and the city starts talking in ones and zeros, or code. So one of the children is beating up a Stark Sentinel, which if you read X-Men 23, we know how hard that is to do. And then out of nowhere, he just says a flaw, and then he starts being covered by the techno-organic virus, which is a crazy plan that Cable had. Listen to this. He goes, 1,000 years into the future, there is a cozy little timeline where everything is a phalanx and the phalanx is everything. As a younger, less cautious man, I risked assimilation to get a sample of this super strain of the techno-organic virus used to convert this universe. Thought it might come in handy someday. And I was right. My techno-organic virus gave me limited control over this hyper-evolved strain. That's why when they brought me back from the dead, I insisted it be with my virus. So I made sure I put the actual strain in a secret weapon stash underneath the mansion, which Bishop picked up last week. And on my way to this point, I've been spreading it all over the place because this is not a gun, this is a syringe. And then Bishop goes, the oldest trick in the book. So every time he's been shooting and missing, he really hasn't been missing. He was just spreading the virus out. So then one of the children is like, you infected the city? And Cable was like, think of it like a gift of peace. And he's like, it's already corrupted your AI and converted 10% of your city to techno-organic matter. At this rate, the entire city and everyone in it will be irreparably converted in about 24 hours. And then Bishop chimes in, things move fast in the city. And then he's like, these are just the early symptoms. These are a walk in the park. Once the virus converts enough matter into techno-organic material, it's going to set up a Babel spear, and it's going to send a signal to Technarch, which is a cannibalistic world that feeds on solar systems. And then Bishop's like, let's see how your predator city does against a predator planet. And then Cable's like, you're the future. Welcome to the past. And Bishop's like, we're all here. And Seraphine's like, you think you won, but even though the techno-organic virus is in our database, it will develop a cure way before it sets up that spear. So then Cable's like, 1,000 years into the future, this virus consumed a whole planet of post-humans. But say you're right, we went a little bit further. You see, that heavy hitter that Bishop was fighting, she was protecting like a nursery of future post-humans that now are surrounded by a whole bunch of 24th century oblivion bombs. And Bishop's like, she fought like hell. His face says it. But now all I have to do is press a button and poof, there goes the future. If the virus doesn't get them, the mushroom cloud will. And they're like, shut up, you guys are bluffing. Even you mutants want to kill babies. And Bishop's like, I wish I could say I wouldn't hurt a child no matter what the stakes, but unfortunately my track record says otherwise. So Captain is freaking out, like, I'll kill you. And Seraphine's like, stop, what do you propose? And Cable's like, leave, take the message with you, go back in the vault and never come back. So Captain's like, they're bluffing. They wouldn't kill the world just to defeat us. And Cable's like, you said it yourself, our people are dead and humans are responsible. The way I see it, everybody gets what they deserve and we'll just start over in another timeline. So the Seraphine's like, the Captain's right, you guys are X-Men and X-Men don't do this. This is not who you are. And Bishop's like, X-Men? There are no more X-Men, they got pushed into the meat grinder. We're just two old soldiers with not too much to lose. So then Bishop's like, you talk to machines, you see through time. Take a good long look at us. Go ahead and look at seeing what we've done and then ask yourself, maybe they are bluffing, but considering what we've done, can you really take that risk? So then Cable's like, you better make a decision soon because the virus is about to be in the nursery. And once it gets into those babies, you'll never get it out. And then Bishop's like, you are beaten. You know you're beaten. Do the smart thing and save the children. And then Seraphine pretty much gives up. Captain's pissed, but she's like, no, I looked into their past and I say we can't risk the future. And then she says the phrase that Cable said in the very first issue, what is. So that's pretty much the end of it. Now she does say we could have protected the humans because there's something that is coming that nobody's ready for. And then Cable goes, we'll take our chances. No, you should not take your chances because it's the Dominion. That's what she saw and ain't nobody ready for that. Oh, and Orchis, they got all the credit for beating the children. So now that we know how the story ends, my question is, where in the hell is Darwin at? Now, last time I remember seeing Darwin, it was when Forge went into the vault, he rescued Lord Kenny, he tried to get Darwin out, but Darwin's like, no, I have evolved into this new state. He's pretty much like a living AI. And he pretty much was like, no, I'm gonna stay right here. So Darwin should have been a part of the city. The city came out of the vault. There was a whole story done and nobody said a word about Darwin. Why? Now, if there's a story where Darwin got out, please let me know in the comments, but I didn't read that story. I'm thinking Darwin was going to be like a crucial part of this story and he was never brought up. I mean, they brought up stuff in the 90s about the children of the vault and nothing about Darwin. So that kind of upset me. I'm just not gonna lie, but yeah, let me know in the comments if I'm just talking out my ass and I just didn't read the story, or you know, why they left him out, because they shouldn't have. And now I'm gonna end this an old school way. If you are new here to SEM Comics, please hit that subscribe button, become part of this SEM Nation. Once you hit that subscribe button, go ahead and hit that bell notification. You'll know when a new video comes out. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. My name is Dorian. This is SEM Comics. Thank you guys for watching my videos. I really do appreciate it. And you guys have a good day.